It's been a while since I've made a video discussing Angry Joe. I'm Cody Lee, owner of blackcatbooks.org. Check out my books on that website. I am the author of Rabbit Hole and Cruel and Beautiful. Please check them out. It's been a long time since I've discussed Angry Joe in any capacity, and I do think there's a very good reason for that. He is stagnant. He is a relic of a bygone era. He is a YouTuber who's essentially done the same thing for 10 years and really failed to grow and evolve. He's just the same he's always been, right? In a lot of respects. But more and more, as I become more and more critical of video game journalists, I start to understand that people like Angry Joe are no different. I think 10 years ago, I would have said that, gaming YouTubers are their own thing, and they're their own niche. They're just they're sellouts. They are sellouts. They are reliant on their audience. They are parasites. They are leeches, but they aren't nearly as corrupt and nepotistic as game journalists. In 2021, I completely believe the opposite. I believe gaming YouTubers in a lot of ways are more reprehensible than gaming journalists, because these people will get into absolute ridiculous controversies regarding their personal relationships with other people, how they conduct their businesses, regarding certain companies, and how they conduct themselves online even. I found Angry Joe's E3 coverage positively disgusting. I am 100% convinced at this point that Angry Joe only positively covers video games if he receives a sponsorship from the developer. That seems to be the trend I've been seeing, because he's been covering a lot of THQ Nordic games that I know he wouldn't actually play, stuff like Biomutant, stuff like Darksiders 3, stuff like that. A lot of these mobile games that no one cares about. But somehow he's missing out on absolute gems Astral Chain, all these great Switch games over the past couple of years. What has he done? What has he talked about on Nintendo Switch other than Breath of the Wild? 4 solid years of great video games. I legit spent Luigi's Mansion 3. What do I have in front of me? Yeah, Luigi's Mansion 3, Dragon Quest 11, Pokken Tournament. Yeah, stuff that Joe should right? Stuff that Joe should be trying, should be getting into, really getting that Nintendo Switch experience, something he should be getting a fair shake to. But instead, what he does is that he goes on Twitter and straight up makes up a controversy to justify being angry at Nintendo this E3. And I do mean make up a controversy, because Angry Joe straight up lied to his audience about why he wasn't doing a Nintendo Direct reaction this E3. So what Joe tried to do is that he tried to go on there, and he tried to go on Twitter, and he tried to say that Nintendo was DMCAing all reaction streams, and how backwards and idiotic that was, and how he wouldn't be able to make any money if he covered it, and how he was going to be boycotting the game, and how he would and how Nintendo never learns their lesson and stuff like that. They need to support their fans. They need to allow Joe to profit off of their material. The same old nonsense we've heard over and over and over and over again, right? We pay for the license in exposure, essentially. That's basically how they streamers try to justify their parasitic nature. But the thing about this is, right? The thing about Joe's complaints is that they straight up were not true. Nintendo was not going after streamers for doing reaction streams. They weren't doing anything like that. I think they were preventing people from tuning in to other platforms. They didn't want people mirroring their stream and then restreaming just the stream basically on other platforms. I think that's what it was about. It wasn't about fucking reaction streams. If it was, why the fuck is every other Nintendo channel on YouTube, Rogers Base, Arlo, basically everyone except Harmon Smith, right? Why is everyone going out there making reaction videos and not being taken down. It's almost like that's not what they're fucking doing, Joe. It's absurd. And like he went on to like bitch about Zelda 2 for a little bit, like talking about like there's no way it's coming out in 2022. Like they're implying that like it's taking too long. Like, oh, why don't they show the subtitle? Like, who the fuck cares? Like, it's what about everything else they showed? What about the new Mario Rabbids game? What about like, you know, Metroid? Why the fuck have you not talked about Metroid? Why haven't you talked about Fire Emblem? Why haven't you talked about like anything over the past 4 years? It's gone past embarrassing, and it's gotten to the point where like I legit believe he has some kind of agenda, some kind of reason to blatantly favor Xbox over Nintendo. Like, that's the impression I get from anyone like seriously trying to argue that like, oh, Xbox won E3 because they have Game Pass. No, fuck off with that nonsense. Xbox showed nothing good, nothing of value, nothing. You need to stop trying to convince yourselves, right, that like any of these companies, any of them, all of them combined, could ever compete with Nintendo. It's just never going to happen. Like, you need to acknowledge Nintendo as the king of the industry, and you need to acknowledge everything they put out with the respect it deserves. You need to be talking about these games. They're going to go on to be the best-selling games of the year, if not like the entire generation, and yet somehow you find some reason every time to never talk about them. Angry Joe is a complete joke.